In the current environment, transparency is what the American people need and deserve. Unfortunately, at the moment, we're getting the opposite on many fronts. The shades are drawn and the doors slammed shut. First, let's take the issue of transparency within the new administration. It's a joke. White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki said on January 20th, the day President Biden was inaugurated and her first day on the job, that Biden planned to, quote, bring transparency and truth back to the government, to share the truth, even when it's hard to hear, end quote. She also told reporters that she has a deep respect for the role of a free and independent press in our democracy. Note the propaganda in the wording. By saying Joe Biden planned to bring transparency and truth back, Psaki implied that President Trump had made his administration less transparent and truthful. Now that's just a lie. One of the main things that we as his supporters appreciated about him was his candor. President Trump would stand outside the White House and answer reporters' questions for as long as they cared to ask them. Real questions, anyway. Can anyone even imagine President Biden doing the same? Or even being able to stand up to the kind of abusive questioning that President Trump received? Well, we'll never know, because he won't be subjected to it. President Trump wanted information declassified. He wanted the doors flung open to what our FBI, CIA, and State Department were up to during the 2020 election, as well as his transition in 2021. They fought him at every turn. Trump wanted a transparent election process in 2020 and the aftermath. Think that's what he got? Yet Jen Psaki has the gall to say that Biden is bringing transparency back. And now, an unnamed official from the transparent Biden administration has told Politico it will not be releasing the names of those attending its White House virtual meetings, which in the time of COVID are the main way meetings are conducted. The names of those attending in-person meetings will still be released, but not the identities of those attending virtual meetings. They also won't be posting the schedules of President Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris. The White House comment line has been shut down completely, and the White House website also will not be posting citizen petitions. And President Biden has yet to have a press conference where he takes unscripted questions. He was inaugurated 43 days ago. As noted by CNN's Jake Tapper, it's been at least 100 years since a president has gone this long without facing the press for questions. Will we need to call him Hidin' Biden? One wonders if he's even capable of handling questions that he'd have to answer without his script in hand. In answer to a question during a February 2nd press briefing, Psaki also said that there has been no discussion about whether to release details of these virtual meetings. Way to be transparent, folks. As reported by the Epoch Times, more than a dozen organizations and political transparency groups have been putting pressure on the administration to disclose information about virtual logs and other information. Now, here's one example, a letter written to the White House counsel Dana Remus by a group called Open the Government, written on behalf of a host of these organizations. They request a meeting with the administration to discuss their recommendations, which include making visitor logs available and searchable, modernizing records management systems, and restricting the use of disappearing message apps for government business. Wait just a doggone minute. They use disappearing message apps for government business? My gosh, Hillary must be in charge of White House cybersecurity. Now, we can see how dedicated the Biden administration really is to promoting transparency. Then in another example from Monday, Psaki completely dodged a reporter's question asking her to respond to President Trump's comment during his CPAC speech that, quote, President Biden sold out America's children to the teachers union, end quote. We can tell how interested the new administration is in transparency by the way she responded.
One more question from former President Trump over the weekend speaking at CPAC.
I heard that.
He had a quote. He said, President Joe Biden sold out America's children to the teachers union. How does the White House respond to that?
I think we're going to spend more of our time focused on communicating about our agenda for the American people than responding to criticism from the former president.
Oh, brother. Finally, let's look at one more area in which we're just not getting transparency, the November 3rd election. Anyone trying to get answers, especially through the courts, is doomed to disappointment. On Monday, the Supreme Court once again shut down calls for a closer look, dismissing Sidney Powell's 2 petitions for writs of mandamus challenging the election results in Wisconsin and Arizona. The justices had no comment. One of Powell's petitions had stated, and I quote, "A submission directly to this court seeking an extraordinary writ of mandamus is unusual, but it has its foundation. While such relief is rare, the court will grant it when a question of public importance is involved or where the question is of such a nature that it is peculiarly appropriate that such action by this court should be taken," end quote. Sounds appropriate to me. Powell is still trying to get some forensic examinations, saying that by federal law, election records are to be kept for 22 months. She maintains that the evidence would be forthcoming if anybody would issue an order allowing inspection of the machines. She said Monday that she cannot begin to describe how upset she is that the courts have not actually reviewed the evidence. It's incomprehensible, she said. There's no rational explanation for not applying the law. Well, it's been clear for a while that the Supreme Court does not want to touch the 2020 election. Professor Rick Hansen of the University of California at Irvine speculated on February 22nd that the Trump cases are somewhat radioactive to the court and that the case would become a further vehicle to argue that the election results were illegitimate. Just by looking at the evidence, that would imply that there might be something to the evidence. We don't know what the evidence might show because nobody will look at it. We just know that a process that should be completely transparent remains the very opposite of that. Justices Thomas, Gorsuch, and Alito understand the danger to our system, the lack of trust caused by this, but all they have the power to do is write dissenting opinions. The doors of transparency just keep slamming shut. Well, thanks for watching. And if you enjoyed that video, I hope you'll consider subscribing to the channel below and clicking the notification bell. Please leave a like and a comment. And I hope you'll share this video as well if you really enjoyed it. Of course you enjoyed it, so share it. Now, if you want more of my news analysis and commentary, why don't you sign up for my newsletter at MikeHuckabee.com. Delivered to your email inbox twice a day, and it is completely free, I promise. And that's it for this edition of The Breakdown. I'm Mike Huckabee.